Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. 8-year-old boy killed, father injured in Clarendon attack. An 8-year-old boy was shot dead in Hinsfield District Racecourse, Clarendon. He has been identified as Thomas James Jr., alias Angola, who was a student at Racecourse Primary School in the parish. The child's father, 46-year-old Thomas James Sr., also known as Lion Heights, was injured in the attack. He remains in hospital in critical condition. It is reported that about 7:45 p.m. on Wednesday, the father and son were at a family-operated shop at their home when a man entered and ordered a cigarette. The man then reported the open gunfire, hitting James Jr. in the head and his father in the upper body. They were assisted to the Lioneltown Hospital and were then transferred to the Maypen Hospital, where the child was pronounced dead. The gruesome murder is the second tragedy to have rocked the southwestern Clarendon community in recent times. On March 24, two infant sisters ages 3 and 4 perished in a fire that ravaged their home. Up to April 5th, 14 people have been killed in Clarendon since the start of the year. Body wrapped in sheet, duct tape found at sea in Kingston. The body of an unidentified man was fished from the sea in Raytown in Kingston. It was reported that about 9:30 a.m., residents saw an object floating in the water and called the police. Scores of onlookers gathered at the location to get a glimpse of the corpse. The body was wrapped in a sheet and duct tape was used around the head. A rope was also tied to the body. The body was removed from the water and taken to a morgue where a postmortem is to be conducted. Human remains found in Central Village. The police were at the scene in Zambia Central Village, St. Catherine, where human remains have been found. The remains were wrapped in plastic. Residents say they have been smelling an odor for the past 2 days and notified the police. When reporters arrived at the location, the police were awaiting the arrival of scene of crime investigators. Cop removed from frontline duties after taxi operator shot in tussle. The police constable involved in Tuesday's shooting of a taxi operator in Portmore, St. Catherine, has been removed from frontline duty. In the meantime, as part of a probe by the Independent Commission of Investigation, his firearm has been seized and sent to a lab for ballistic analysis. Commanding officer for the St. Catherine South Police Division, Senior Superintendent Christopher Phillips, told the taxi operators at a meeting on Wednesday that the cop was also treated at a hospital and is recovering from injuries received in the altercation with the taxi operator. During the tussle, the taxi operator was shot in the shoulder as the cop accosted him over traffic infractions. The motorist is said to be hospitalized in a stable condition and is expected to make a complete recovery. Time running out for 11-year-old gunshot victim. Is this how my life is going to waste away? Is this where my future ends? Those are the painful reflections of 11-year-old Kellysa Walker, who was hit by a stray bullet during a gunfight as she traveled in a taxi along Makati Street in Montego Bay in October 2021. The preteen, who is an aspiring doctor, penned a tear-jerking letter to Prime Minister Andrew Holness last week asking for his intervention as her mother struggles to find the US $60,000 for a court implantation surgery in the United States. Kalisa was one of 4 bystanders shot in the incident, in which rifle-toted attackers engaged men in another car in a high-speed chase and shootout in the western city. She now suffers from excruciating headaches, partial hearing loss, dizziness, imbalance, and has been absent from school since the incident. Her letter, which she read on camera, is addressed to the Health, National Security, and Education Ministries as well as government agencies. On Sunday morning, more than 47,000 people had viewed the viral video. In between tears, the Coronado Avenue primary student recounted the nightmare of being shot in the back of her head. The bullet exited through her left jaw. She spent a month admitted in Conway Regional Hospital. I suffered a fractured skull and I lost hearing in my left ear and I wasn't able to walk, she said. Kalisa is now walking on her own, but she is unable to do so for a long period. Her mother, Killian Reese, has received help from the St. James Municipal Corporation to the tune of $250,000. Her principal, the Lay Magistrate Association, and the public have pitched in with contributions to her GoFundMe fundraiser, but the family is far from the target needed for her life to return to normality. Doctors here have referred Reese, a single mother, to the Rady Children's Hospital in San Diego, California. My main reason for reaching out is that not even online classes I can participate in, because when they are speaking and they speak loud, my head starts hurting. If I stand for too long, I get dizzy or tumble over, she stated in the video. I want to go back to school. I want to be a doctor when I grow up, but how am I going to do that if I sit down and can't go back to school to finish my studies, she asked. Reese, who is haunted by memories of blood spraying from her daughter's face after she was shot, says they have tried everything to finance the surgery, with the April 30 deadline fast approaching. Unable to hold back the tears during the interview, Reese broke down several times, expressing concern about the grim diagnosis of local doctors and her condition may worsen. The mother said she feels helpless watching her 11-year-old daughter fall apart. The ENT specialist said if the surgery is not done on time, Kalisa could lose hearing in her right ear, as well as due to the fact there is too much pressure on that one ear, Reese disclosed. She is also having severe pain at the back of her head, which is believed to be caused by bullet fragments. Reese, who is also mom of a toddler, said she had to leave her front desk job at a resort to take care of her daughter. Kalisa has also not got an appointment at the U.S. Embassy as yet, said Reese, as the only available date is in 2023. It is not uncommon for the embassy to accommodate emergency cases, however. The family is in dire straits, said her mom, because Kalisa needs to undergo an MRI and a CT scan before departing the island. Kalisa's father has not been in her life for years, said Reese. Before being shot, the 11-year-old was among the brightest in her class. Persons who wish to help the family may make donations to the Scotiabank account 1006493 or US dollars account 1012416 Montego Bay branch. The name on the account is Kellyanne Reese. Dancehall producer Shopdon freed of firearm charges, co-accused convicted. Dancehall producer Shopdon has been freed in the gun court of firearm and ammunition charges. The 31-year-old, whose given name is Linval Thompson Jr., was freed of illegal possession of firearm and ammunition after no evidence was offered against him. His co-accused, Romario Scott, was, however, sentenced to 6 years and a month for illegal possession of firearm and 4 years and a month for illegal possession of ammunition. Both men were arrested and charged after a legal gun was found in their possession in Old Harbour, St. Catherine last October. The police had intercepted a vehicle in which Thompson and Scott were traveling. The vehicle was seized, and when searched, the firearm was found. The gun was reportedly stolen from the Atlanta Police Department in the United States in 2018. Attorney at law Tom Tavares Vincent QC represented Scott, while Donahue Martin represented Thompson. Give the police your support, Chang tells Jamaicans. National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang says that Jamaica's police force must get greater support in order to get an edge in the fight against crime. Speaking yesterday morning on the final day of the 2-day security summit put on by the Montego Bay Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Chang said the government is committed to giving support to the Jamaica Constabulary Force, including ensuring that the police numbers are expanded and properly equipped to combat the crime monster. We have to give the police the resources, and we have to give them moral support. Branding of the police in a negative way needs to stop, stated Chang. He pointed out that crime affects productivity, with sectors such as the business process, outsourcing, and hotel industries being impacted when employers do not want to take on certain work shifts out of fear for their safety. Chang called for Jamaicans not to have a casual response to criminal activities, but rather to take a harder stance against the specific crimes like lottery scamming. He also urged the summit's attendees to provide more positive reinforcement for young men to draw them away from crime. The Security Summit has so far tackled a number of issues relating to crime and its impact on young people. The inaugural event is being held at the Montego Bay Conventional Center in Rose Hall, St. James, under the theme collective security, unity in action. More U.S. extradition warrants for alleged lottery scammers coming. Dominic Riley, United States Postal Inspection Service of the U.S. Embassy in Kingston, revealed that a significant number of extradition warrants will be issued this month for alleged Jamaican lottery scammers to face justice in America. He made the disclosure while addressing yesterday's final day of the Montego Bay Chamber of Commerce and Industry Inaugural Security Summit, which is being held at the Montego Bay Conventional Center in Rose Hall, St. James, where he did not indicate how many extradition warrants will be issued. Riley declared that U.S. authorities will not lose the war against lottery scamming. Scammers can stay ahead and make an advance some of the times, so we have not lost this war, but we are definitely in the fight. Extraditions will pick up, and we shall see a lot more extraditions coming in the future this month, as there are several in the pipeline, Riley told the summit. He reminded the public that while lottery scamming is seen by some as a victimless crime, the activity causes suffering for American retirees, who are usually targeted, and the Jamaican relatives of scammers, who may be targeted for retribution. One recent U.S. lottery scamming extradition case is that of Greg Warren Clark, who is from Montego Bay, St. James, and who has been wanted in Florida since 2019. The U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Florida in April had previously issued a warrant for Clark's arrest. Clark waived his right to an extradition hearing and signed the consent form when he appeared in the Kingston and St. Andrew Court on Tuesday. He was charged with conspiracy to commit mail and wire fraud, mail fraud, wire fraud, and international money laundering. Criteria for appointment of principals to be revised. The criteria for the appointment of principals are to be revised following Cabinet's approval for these changes to be made. This will be facilitated through the amendment of Section 43 of the Educational Act 1965 and sections of the Education Regulations 1980, which relates to the criteria for appointment of principals. Minister without portfolio in the Office of the Prime Minister (OPM), with responsibility for information, Robert Marcon, made the announcement during a post-cabinet press briefing on Wednesday. The proposed amendments are to ensure that principals possess the requisite educational qualifications and training in line with current international standards. These changes are geared towards improving the quality of leadership and the general management of educational institutions. In the meantime, Cabinet also gave approval for the National Council on Technical and Vocational Education and Training (NCTVET) to operate under the Ministry of Education and Youth. However, exceptions were provided where the NCTVET would transfer its quality assurance function, that is, its ability to approve and accredit institutions that offer technical and vocational training, and its registers to the University Council of Jamaica. Additionally, the Overseas Examinations Commission will now have the statutory responsibility of administering tests that have been developed by NCTVET. To facilitate these changes, the requisite amendments will be made to the relevant acts of Parliament. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell for daily updates.